Hauntcast. Haunting Halloween and horror. The Prop Shop.
Well, hello there. Oh, don't mind me. I'm just finishing up burying old Sawmill Sally. You know why they call her Sawmill Sally, don't you? Sawmill's where she cut up her victims into tiny little pieces. Say, what brings you to my graveyard? What do you seek? Ah, I see. You're here to learn how to make one of the most rancid, rotted, and realistic corpse props anyone has ever seen. Well, follow me to the mausoleum, where prop maker of GraveRot Studios, Lou Gorman, will show you how.
What's going on there, Haunt Fiends? I see the caretaker has led you to my lair. So, you want to learn how to make a realistic corpse for your haunt, eh? Well, you came to the right place. I'm Louis at GraveRot Studios. I make props that are featured in professional haunted attractions and home haunts across the country. On this Hauntcast segment, I'll be talking you through the steps on how to make a realistic corpse prop. Well, let's get to it. All right, here's a materials list of everything you're going to need to make a badass corpse props.
Hell yeah, brother.
99% of the stuff you can get on Amazon. All right, so you're going to need a respirator that blocks out fumes and dust particles, a box of rubber gloves, paper towels, 36-pack of 1-inch chip brushes, Gorilla Super Glue Gel. The bottle has a green cap. Dremel tool and Dremel bits, 3 rolls of 0.7 mil plastic drop cloth, a 5-foot plastic skeleton. Just get the cheap one. They're like $35 or $40, so you can buy them on Amazon or at Walmart during the haunt season. Life-size human skull replica. The product number is VAL207. You're going to need all-purpose barge cement. Alcohol concentrated inks. The brand I use is Copic Ink Burnt Umber. Heat gun. Don't use a hairdryer. It won't get the plastic hot enough. Dynarex brand cotton roll sheets. You're going to be using that to corpse the skull. Acrylic teeth set. Mod Podge spray, gloss or matte finish. If you want your corpse to look wet, use the gloss. If you want a drier look, use the matte finish. A Phillips head screwdriver. Airbrush compressor and airbrush. I use the Pache H3 single action brush. You can buy a cheap knockoff on Amazon as well. A bottle of 91% rubbing alcohol. Don't get the 70%. Just the 70% doesn't mix well with the alcohol inks. Scissors, pliers, expanding foam in a can, and 1 quart of mass-making latex, or they call it slipcast latex. I think that's the only thing you can't buy off Amazon. I personally use the Black Lagoon Mold Supply brand. I buy it off their website, but you can also get it from monster makers as well. You can buy it off their website also. Don't buy the cheap liquid latex off Amazon. It's just too runny, and it just doesn't work very well. All right, before we get started, please use your respirator and your rubber gloves and work in a well-ventilated area. The fumes and plastic particles are no good to be breathing this stuff in. You don't want to be coughing like your grandpa that's been sucking down Lucky Strikes for 50 years. Let's start fleshing out the corpse. We're going to be working on the body in sections. First, you're going to need to remove that shitty-looking skull that comes attached to that skeleton. Cut the string that's attached to the top of the skull, and with a little bit of elbow grease, you should be able to pull that skull right off. Lay the headless skeleton down on your work table, chest facing up. You're going to notice the hands of the skeleton don't look very realistic, so use your heat gun carefully and heat up the joints of the fingers to give it a little bit of character. Don't heat the joints up too hot, or the fingers will literally melt off. Now you're going to take the roll of 0.7 mil plastic wrap and unroll it to the length of the torso, from the neck down to the pelvis. Now cut to that desired length. Take the cut section of plastic and crumple it up into a ball. Then unravel it. That's going to give you some texture. Wrap the plastic drop cloth around the torso section in multiple layers, not too tight. Now use your heat gun and heat up the plastic. As the plastic heats up, it will start to shrink and form itself with the skeleton, creating texture. That gives it that rotted dead flesh look. I like to apply more heat in the ribcage area to create holes in the chest. Repeat the same steps for the arms, hands, legs, and feet. Cut the plastic to size, wrap in multiple layers, and heat the plastic for that desired rotted flesh look. Now once you're finished, set the corpse skeleton aside. Now it's time to work on the skull. All right, let's take your VAL-207 replica skull and use your Phillips head screwdriver to remove the spring that connects the jaw piece. Now take out your pliers and start yanking out those teeth. Once all the teeth are out, use your Dremel tool and start reaming out the tooth cavities. The holes you reamed out will help with fitting and gluing in your new acrylic teeth. Now use your Gorilla Super Glue Gel and start gluing in the acrylic teeth to your desired look. With all the teeth glued in and dry, it's time to glue the jaw back on. You can glue in the jaw closed or open, it's up to you. It's time to start corpsing the skull using cotton and latex. When corpsing the skull, I like to work in sections. I start with the top of the skull and then work my way down, blending everything together. I also recommend using pictures of the muscle anatomy of a human head as reference. Start with applying a generous amount of latex to the skull first and lay the cotton down on top. Now using your chip brush, start applying latex to the cotton. You will notice brush streaks in the latex. To fix that, just use your finger lightly to smooth those out. To give the corpse head some character, you can pull on some of the wet latex and cotton material to make hanging flesh. You could also make holes in the material to show some of the exposed bone. Just have fun with it. When you're finished corpsing the skull and waiting for it to dry, let's start adding latex to the skeleton. Take a fresh chip brush and start coating your skeleton with a layer of latex. No need to use cotton for this step. Once you're finished latexing the skeleton, let the skull and skeleton dry overnight. In warmer climates, it dries quicker, and colder climates, it dries slower. Now that everything is dry, now it's time to attach the skull to the corpse. You'll notice a hole on the bottom of the skull. Now take your expanding foam and fill the inside of the skull. Insert the neck bone into the hole. Once dry, your skull should be securely attached to the corpse. Now it's time to add a very thin layer of barge cement to the whole corpse. Once that process is completed, let it dry. It's time to start painting the corpse using alcohol concentrate inks. When you buy your alcohol inks, I recommend using the color Burnt Umber. Now take your Burnt Umber color and 91% rubbing alcohol and mix them together in a cup. The more 91% alcohol you add to the ink, the lighter and more transparent the color will be. If you add less 91% alcohol to the inks, it will be darker and less transparent. Now let's take a fresh chip brush and start painting the corpse using the ink mixture. Once the corpse is completely painted, take a fresh paper towel and start to very lightly wipe away the paint. This will break up the high spots and the low spots, creating depth. Now it's time to bust out the airbrush and spray the whole corpse over one more time with that burnt umber color to blend it all together. You can spray the color darker in certain areas like inside the mouth, cheekbones, eye sockets, and in the joint areas. Once you're finished, it's time to let the paint dry. For the final step, it's time to spray on your Mod Podge sealer. This is going to protect your corpse and the paint from the outside elements. If you want it to look shiny and glossy and wet, use the gloss sealer. If you want it to be a little bit drier looking, use the matte sealer. That's it. Now you got a realistic, rotted, badass corpse that you can put out in your haunt this year. If you like this tutorial, please go and check out GraveRot Studios on Instagram. If you have any questions, just shoot me a DM. I'd be more than happy to help. I'm Lewis with GraveRot Studios, and I am signing out.
Please follow the podcast. Give us a 5-star review. Stalk us on social media, links in the description, and visit our blog page for more show info at hauntcastpodcast.net/blog. Until next time, stay scary.
Get out!